Well, it's time for Media Watch now. James Creedon is with us in the studio. Hi there, James.
Hello.
And you're looking at coverage online of the second anniversary of the Charlie Hebdo attack and the attack on the Jewish supermarket as well.
That's right. So, hashtag Charlie Hebdo, there's a lot of comment on it already. 2 years on, you can see here that I suppose the journalists who were killed have become, cultural figures, if you like. You have cartoons of them sort of stenciled onto buildings around the city. That's in the 11th arrondissement. Actually, I think it's the offices of Charlie Hebdo. 2 years on, somebody walking past there. And that was one of the police officers, Ahmed, who was gunned down not far away. And that memorial, I remember it was painted in the days after the attack, very soon afterwards. A memorial plaque for Ahmed Merabet, one of the victims of the deadly attack. And that was an AFP photo. This is the front page of Charlie Hebdo, the anniversary edition, if you like. Again, their humour somewhat provocative.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of the tunnel, and what you see at the end of the barrel of the gun is, what would appear to be a
swivel-eyed jihadist.
Indeed, there you go. Now, similar sort of imagery, if you take the pencil here and look at it head on, or I suppose point on, it could be imagined as a target point, and the point that's trying to be made here through this tweet is that 2 years later, cartoonists around the world are still targets for the work that they do. So the issues that were raised around the time of the Charlie Hebdo attack, and it wasn't even the first attack, there were previous attacks for cartoons done in the Netherlands and elsewhere, or Denmark in particular. So those issues have not gone away.
Certain things you just cannot laugh at,
no.
It seems, still today.
No.
But the weekly itself is still controversial, isn't it? And it still upsets a lot of people. That's
right. So, I mean, I think that the main point here, the second anniversary, is the dynamics are the same. The dynamics are the same. You still have people who find their cartoons in bad taste. The most recent issue there is cartoons depicting the Russian military plane crash, and sort of jokes that were made around that. For example, oh, such a pity that certain people weren't on board that plane, etc. In any case, that does not please a lot of people who just don't think it's funny. It's a cesspit of heartless black humour, says one Twitter user, and another saying that Charlie Hebdo should be ashamed of making fun of the Russian jet accident. They were fighting ISIS that killed your colleagues, you idiot morons, etc.
And I think they made a cartoon of the earthquakes in Italy over the summer as well, didn't they?
That's right. So the argument all along has been that it's a particular brand of humour that is difficult to understand abroad. You have to kind of get into the psyche of it, but it remains divisive for sure.
Absolutely.
And for Euronews, a lot of, obviously, media headlining it, they say, you know what, it has remained 2 years on, reassuringly rabid. In other words, they haven't changed, and that's a good thing.
And they've published an editorial in English to mark the attack.
We see this is the other aspect of what has happened to Charlie Hebdo. It has, I think, a 100,000 issue weekly list of buyers. It has editorials. You can see the editorial originally in French. A Political Crime is also available on English on their website. And what they're essentially saying in their editorial is that the 7th of January was not an attack like the others. Other attacks have taken place in France and elsewhere in Europe, gradually burying the January 2015 day in a long list of terrorist crimes. The 7th of January, in some ways, has been tidied away on the terrible memories shelf, says Charlie Hebdo. But in fact, it was a political crime whose aim was to eliminate ideas and those who proclaim them. That day, the victims were killed because of their political opinions, their political writings, their political drawings published in the political newspaper Charlie Hebdo. So they're trying to make a slight distinction between the nature of that particular attack and perhaps the randomness, no less vile, you could say, of attacks targeting just members of the public. So just one or two final elements on this. I was just showing there the fact that they have an English language version to their website now. There's also a German version. So this is the flip side of the tragedy that struck Charlie Hebdo 2 years ago. It has actually massively bolstered now its sales, and you even have editions in different languages. This is the German edition, and you can see here a sort of a gingerbread house. And I think what that says there is our values won't change, or something like that, or this attack won't change our way of life. And obviously that's an ironic take on it, dark humour. It's what they do.
Cannons sticking out of the gingerbread house.
That's right. And we remember as well 2 years ago there were many demonstrations on the Place de la République with people brandishing pens and pencils as a gesture of free speech. So this cartoon is a nod to that. It's saying I am still Charlie, because the hashtag back then, the slogan was I am Charlie. It was what gave birth, in fact, to all of the subsequent I am this, I am that, all of this very tragic, these tragic demonstrations of solidarity that we've seen so much of. And elsewhere in that cartoon, what they're saying is, I'm just as much Charlie now, more than yesterday, and even less than tomorrow. In other words, the support that I have for these values will only get greater as time goes by.
All right. James, thank you very much indeed. James Creedon there. And